To all of the teachers and school employees who are here, thank you so much for being here and for everything you do, and after a long work day for being here. Let us be your voice tonight. Let us, as parents and representatives of the PTO, PTA, and PTSOs here, let us be your voice. You do so much for us, so let us have that opportunity to do that for you. Thank you, Marvin Ridge High School, for giving us the space to do this. I see some people still settling in, some stalling. Thank you, Marvin Ridge High School and Mr. Connor, for giving us the space to do this. We really appreciate it. So if you are here, I'd like to recognize the school board members that, if they would be here, if you just stand for a moment when I call your name. L. Dean Arp Jr., who's the chair of our school board. John Crowder. Sherry Hodges. Carolyn Louder. Rick Pig. Marcy Savage. David Scholl. Did David make it? Yay! And county commissioners, Tracy Cooler, Kim Rogers, and Jerry Simpson, who is the chairman. And we have two county commissioner candidates who should be here. Frank Akmus, and just Richard Helms here, and Purdy was going to be late. All right, he's another candidate. All right, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the legislators that have taken the time to be here, one at a time.
Thank you very much for being here this evening. It's incredibly important that you show up for these kind of meetings and you speak up. We're going to have a Q&A in a little bit, but we're available here for you. If we're not available tonight, there's email, there's telephone calls. You have got to be part of the solution. We desperately need your advice, your insight, and as was said earlier, we need your suggestions on where do we go from here. How do we accomplish these goals? But most of all, thank you for being here. It's terrifically important. I'm going to try and go through very quickly a brief presentation I put together that will, I hope, dispel some of the nonsense that goes around, that will give you facts to work on. I'm going to show you a bunch of numbers, but we're going to end up talking about right here in Union County and have that keep that in perspective. That's the word I was looking for. So let's start with my first slide. This represents the total money that North Carolina puts into education. That's all education. That's elementary, K-12, community colleges, and University of North Carolina system. Total money. Receipts, that part, receipts, that's education lottery funds, tuition, fees, things like that. So the bottom line is that for next year certified 2012, 2013, the state of North Carolina will put $10.98 billion into education. That's about 58% of the budget, 59% of the budget. We'll get to that in a minute. Next slide. All right. Of that amount of money, 68% of it goes to K-12. That's us. Next slide. So, let's talk about K-12 and what I got the same style of numbers, and you can see how that budget has changed since 2009-10. 2009-10. We went from $7.49 billion in 10-11, the bottom fell out. In 11-12, the year we're in right now, this legislature put it back at $7.46 billion. It'll be about the next year. Next slide. Now, North Carolina is the 10th largest state in the nation for K-12 students. 10th largest in the nation. At 94% daily attendance, that's, you know what it is. K-12 teachers, we've got about 95,000 K-12 teachers in North Carolina. Average student per teacher across North Carolina, this is not Union County, across North Carolina, 15-1. And the average teacher salary across North Carolina, and by the way, I got these numbers numbers out of NEA, these are not legislator numbers or Craig Horn numbers or DPI numbers. This is the National Education Association. I took them offline, same place all the rest of us can find them. Average teacher salary, $46,000. As you've already heard, we're ranked 46th in the nation, down from 35th. There's nobody in here proud of that. Nobody. Fact is, we should be downright ashamed of it. Next slide. Now, K-12 funding, where does it come from? 16% of our money that we spend in this school, in these schools, 16% comes from the feds. 59% from the state. We are the 11th highest in the nation, and actually, last week, 2 weeks ago, the White House issued a report saying that North Carolina was 10th in the nation in increasing public education funding. That's K-12 funding. And they complimented us. That came from the White House, didn't come from me, didn't come from the state, didn't come from DPI, the White House. We are, however, 45th in the nation in funding our public education at the local level. Not trying to throw the county commissioners under the bus. We live in Union County because taxes are low. We also live in Union County because the schools are great. So overall spending, we are 43rd in the nation in overall spending per student. Now that's statewide. Now let's compare that to Union County. Next slide. In Union County, we get $631 per pupil from the feds, 47 from the state, and 1908 from local funds. For 7303, ranking us. There are 8 counties, but you heard how many LEAs. I went by counties. Show you what I know. But I went by counties. There are 8 counties, only 8 counties, that spend less per student than we do. Now the question might be, well, why don't we spend more per student? Well, of course that's a question. Here's the other side of that coin. Why aren't we getting our money's worth in the other 92 counties? You heard someone say, let's take the lessons we've learned in Union County and apply them across the state. And if we did, we'd have a lot more money to put into teacher salaries and a lot of other things. We're not getting our money's worth across the state of North Carolina. And that's my responsibility. Been here a whole year, why haven't I gotten it done yet? I'm sure you'll ask. Next slide. All right. Funding. Let's go to per pupil expenditure. 9, 10, 39,000 students, $5,500 a student. 11, 12, 39,000 students, a little more. Fell off a little bit for this year, going up next year. Per pupil expenditure. Now that funding, if I recall correctly, is, oh good, my notes. That funding, excuse me, I'm trying to go fast. That funding includes the discretionary cuts business. Now I'll tell you, I'm 68 years old, all my kids are your age. So I didn't know what discretionary cuts were. I heard the term Tuesday. I finally get someone at DPI to explain it to me. Now my fellow legislators may not like this, but I think it's a darn shell game. And that's the way, here's how it works. Discretionary cuts is, I give you $10, you give me $3 back. But you can decide whether you take it out of this pocket or that pocket. That's what's nonsense, frankly. It's a great way for us legislators, to tell you we're doing lots of funding. Because we don't tell you very much about the discretionary cuts. Now, the other side of that coin is, we've got less money, we're going to let you decide, each LEA, decide where you want to pull it back. So that's the discretionary part. So we can do better. We need to do better. But the good news is, look for 2012-13. In spite of all of our fears of these terrible cuts, what were we in the press? We were draconian cuts. These draconian cuts going back up next year. Will that continue? I don't know. Tell me that that the economy is going to continue to improve. I sure hope so. But we're getting back up, and in fact, although we're going to have more students, so we're still not near where we were in 2009-10. Next slide. So where's the money going? Where do we spend all this money? We're 41st in the nation in spending money on public welfare. We are 10th in the nation spending money on health and hospitals. And you can see the numbers. I'm sure you're like me, you don't particularly appreciate someone reading a slide to you. But that tells you where is the money going? There's a problem, it's just not a lot of money. When we get this economy back on, the economy gets back on, I'm not going to say we get it, when the economy gets back on track and more people are at work paying taxes, we will have more money. So our total ADA, average daily attendance, we're 44th, 43rd after all is said and done. Next slide. Now, what has this legislature done? Now, this is where, whether I'm to blame or I participated, you judge. But this legislature did reduce the budget for 11, 12, and 12, 13. Yes, we did. By 0.5% over what the governor told us to do. 0.5%. Now, but we fully funded teacher pensions and fully funded liability. That was being pushed down to you all at the local level. And we said, no, that's a state responsibility. The other thing I want to tell you about that is that these legislatures, us in Raleigh, have been not funding those pensions, and we owe you a lot of money. We owe you a lot of money to teachers and state employees. We owe you money. We funded it fully this year, but they haven't in the past, and we're in a hole. We restored funding for school bus replacement. We're going to push that down to your problem as well. And no, we put that back in the budget. So we cut 0.5%. Yes, we did. But we also funded some things that had to be funded by the state. Restored enrollment growth, reduced teacher school district paperwork by eliminating duplicate reports. Can we do better? We can do a lot better. Keep the pressure on us. We were told by the teachers that we're a pain in the neck with too many continuing education requirements. So we cut the continuing education requirements in half. LEA class size, classroom teaching, from career to college promise. That's going to save a bunch of people in this room money in the long term, because it allows your high school students to take college courses and high school courses at the same time. That's a new program, and we're leading the nation in this concept here in North Carolina. And we are trying to reduce this student-teacher ratio. Next slide. So, the teacher pay thing, going 2 months without a pay, that was part of that Paperwork Reduction Act. In there was this concept that we thought made sense at the time, that we pay after we've done the work. Sort of like most of us get paid. Well, what the teachers have had in the past is they take their annual salary, they cut it up into 12 months, and they get paid, so they get paid throughout the year. We changed that. We screwed them. So I'm telling you, we have drafted the fix, and I have the commitment of the Speaker of the House and the Senate has committed. We're going to fix that when we go back into session May 16th. But we didn't do that because you all said, wait a minute, what the heck are you doing? You got to speak up. 5 additional days. You've heard most of the speakers today talk about the 5 additional days. I've thrown nobody under the bus. We were told as a legislature and some of the committees I went to, our kids don't spend enough time in front of teachers. Look at the rest of the world. They spend 190 days, 195 days, 200 days. We don't spend enough time in front of the teachers. We've got to expand the teachers. But we don't have any money, so we'll just take it out of their house. That's wrong. We're going to redo that as well. Let's go on. And next, by the way, that's not another And we all know what those are worth. But many of us, Senator Tucker in the Senate is going to help carry that ball. Representative Johnson in the House is going to help carry that ball. It was handled poorly. We can debate this evening whether the efficacy of additional days. But do it right, do it up front, involve the teachers and the education establishment in creating a way that makes reasonable sense and fund it properly. We're going to do that. Next slide. All right, but I'm going to throw the ball to you. In the state of North Carolina, 34% of our fourth graders are reading at level. That's the state of North Carolina. I am so happy that's not the county of Union. But we're a big state. We're a big state. We got problems. And we need to solve those problems. 70% of the kids that graduate from high school in the state of North Carolina require remediation when they go to community college. Bad deal. The University of North Carolina unto itself spends $1.4 million teaching freshmen high school English or math. That's wrong. That's got to change. Next slide. So, education reform is coming. In just a minute, my comrade, Representative Johnson, is going to talk about education reform. Raising the bar. I want, and you want, a North Carolina high school diploma to mean something. And I mean something. When you go to Ohio or Pennsylvania or Florida or Texas or California and you show them a North Carolina high school diploma, they say, ooh, that's good. When they see it's a Union County school, they'll say, wow. Yeah. That's what we want to do. And I'm a little hesitant about this because I'm sounding like a politician. Look, 2 years ago, I was a turkey salesman. And now, never mind. Actually, I used to work for Oscar Mayer, and I bet you I'm the only guy you'll ever meet that's actually driven the Wienermobile. That's true. We need to implement teacher fair pay and a teacher evaluation. We need your help to do it. We need to identify poor performing schools. A, B, C, D, or F. There's the grade. The parents need to know. And we need to figure out a better way of funding education. We're doing it now. Tax money, property tax money. There's got to be a better way. Now, I am happy to tell you, and many of you may know, that we've recently begun an education foundation here in Union County. I strongly urge you to participate in that. Invest in that foundation so that our teachers don't have to be going in their pocket to buy worms or pencils or paper. See, I didn't pay attention. That's wrong. It's just wrong. And we can do better. Look around. We don't exactly live in a lack of poverty here. We can do better. And we must do better. So we've got to find a new way. 2 more slides, I'm finished. Challenge. Yes. Wait a minute, wasn't there another slide?
I got challenged.
No, guess not. Good. I'm almost finished, and you can hear somebody else. I'm sure you're tired of hearing from me. That's the first one. I love that one. It's absolutely right. Every system is perfectly designed to achieve the results it gets. Moral of the story, change the system. We've got to find a different way and not just rearrange the deck chairs. You've heard that routine before. You guys are pretty inventive. You all, most of you came from somewhere else. You've learned other lessons. We can learn from you. I'm not a believer in original thought. I'm not smart enough to be original. Somebody has come up with a good idea somewhere else. It doesn't wear a hat or carry a party card. It doesn't wear clothes. It's a good idea. And we need good ideas on how we can better fund as well as achieve better educational outcome. And the other one is the title of a book. Book, not great, and I'm not talking the book, but I love the title. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Linda to talk about education.